you're being so rude to me.
Approach from the Met Police Service. There is a proper children's strategy. We've made sure tens of thousands of police officers and police staff have been retrained. We've invested in victim and survivors.
I was talking specifically on grooming gangs. You know full well we're on a clock, Mr. Mayor. You know full well you just run it down, which is despicable. You can look fed up with me asking if you like, but you better get used to it, because I will not stop until we've got...
Sadiq Khan just got absolutely demolished in the London Assembly by Susan Hall. And honestly, watching a politician try to rewrite history when the receipts are sitting right there is like watching someone claim they never said they'd be at the gym while their Instagram is full of pizza posts. 6 months ago, Khan said there were no reported cases of grooming gangs in London. Now he's claiming he never suggested they don't exist. Susan Hall wasn't having any of it, and she came prepared with 27 towns where grooming gangs operate, a year's worth of Khan dodging questions, and the absolute killer line, "You knew damn well what I was talking about." This got heated, it got personal, and it exposed exactly why trust in politicians is at rock bottom. Stick around, because this is a masterclass in political evasion meeting someone who refuses to let you get away with it. So we're at the London Assembly meeting on Thursday, December 18th, and Susan Hall is once again pressing Sadiq Khan on whether London has the same grooming gangs as the rest of the country. She's not asking vaguely. She comes armed with a list of 27 towns across the UK where these gangs allegedly operate. Rotherham, Rochdale, Telford, Oxford, Newcastle, the whole depressing catalogue of places where children were systematically abused while authorities failed them. And she's asking the mayor directly, does London have the same problem? It's not a gotcha question. It's not political point scoring for fun. It's a legitimate question that deserves a straight answer, because if grooming gangs are operating in the capital, children are being harmed right now, and something needs to be done about it. Hall tells Khan that he's made previous assertions that London doesn't have the same type of grooming gangs as those other towns. And here's where Khan's response gets interesting, by which I mean frustratingly evasive. He says he's echoing the words of the commissioner and assistant commissioner, who've both explained there are serious issues regarding child sexual exploitation, which, okay, that's acknowledging the problem exists, sort of, but it's also not actually answering the question about whether London has grooming gangs specifically. It's the political equivalent of someone asking if you ate the last biscuit and you responding with, well, we all enjoy biscuits, don't we? Biscuit consumption is a serious issue in this household. Like, yes, technically related to the topic, but not actually an answer. But here's where it gets really spicy, because Susan Hall has the receipts. Back in June of this year, just 6 months ago, Khan told Assembly members, and I quote, "There are no reported cases and also no indication of the grooming gangs that she's concerned about in London." No reported cases. No indication. That's pretty definitive language. That's not "we're investigating" or "the situation is complex" or "we're taking this seriously." That's a flat denial that the problem exists. And now, 6 months later, Khan is claiming he never suggested grooming gangs don't operate in London. The cognitive dissonance is absolutely wild. Earlier in the year, Khan repeatedly asked Susan Hall to explain what she means by grooming gangs, which prompted accusations from critics that he was stonewalling direct questions on child sexual exploitation. And can we just pause on how insulting that is? Susan Hall is a London Assembly member. She's been in politics long enough to know what grooming gangs are. Everyone watching these meetings knows what grooming gangs are. The entire country has been talking about grooming gangs for over a decade since the Rotherham scandal broke. But Khan plays this game of, "Oh, I'm not sure what you mean, could you clarify?" as if the term is somehow ambiguous or confusing. It's not. We all know what we're talking about. Asking for clarification isn't seeking understanding, it's running down the clock and avoiding answering. At the time, Khan said the situation in London regarding young people being groomed is different from other parts of the country. He claimed what London has is young people being groomed for county lines drug dealing. Now, county lines is absolutely a serious issue. Children are exploited by drug gangs to move drugs between cities, and it ruins lives and puts kids in danger. That's real, and that matters. But here's the thing. acknowledging county lines exploitation doesn't mean other forms of grooming don't exist. It's not either or. London is massive. It's got nearly 9 million people. The idea that only one type of child exploitation exists in a city that large is statistically implausible, and using county lines as a way to deflect from questions about sexual grooming gangs is, intentionally or not, muddying the waters. In Thursday's meeting, Khan repeated this claim that child exploitation in the capital is centered around county lines. And again, that might be true for some cases, maybe even most cases, but it doesn't answer the question about sexual grooming gangs. Susan Hall isn't asking about county lines. She's asking about a specific type of organized sexual abuse that has devastated communities across the UK. And every time Khan pivots to talking about county lines, instead of answering the actual question being asked, he's not engaging with the actual question being asked. It's a deflection tactic, and everyone can see it. Susan Hall isn't backing down, though, and good for her, because someone needs to hold the mayor accountable on this. She tells the assembly that every day that goes by, other girls and sometimes boys are being groomed. Every single day. That's not hyperbole when you think about the scale of what happened in other towns. Hundreds of children in Rotherham alone. Thousands across the country. If even a fraction of that is happening in London, we're talking about children suffering abuse right now, while politicians argue about terminology and jurisdiction. That's the human cost that gets lost in political back and forth. And then Hall drops the absolute hammer. I still don't think you realize the impact of you being so rude to me just under a year ago, when you said, "What does the member mean? What is she talking about?" She continues, "You knew damn well what I was talking about, because it has been going on for years." That's not just calling out evasion, that's calling out disrespect. That's saying you're treating this issue and the people raising it with contempt by pretending you don't understand the question. And she's right. Khan absolutely knew what she was talking about. He's the mayor of London. He's briefed on safeguarding issues. He works with the Met Police. The idea that he genuinely didn't understand what grooming gangs meant is laughable. Hall goes on, "You're the mayor of this great city. It's going on in London, and every day that goes by where we don't have an inquiry in place, these girls and sometimes boys are suffering. And yet when they look at your comments on it, you don't take it seriously enough." That's the core accusation here, that Khan is not taking this seriously enough, that he's more concerned with political optics or avoiding difficult conversations than with actually protecting children. And when you look at his pattern of responses, asking for clarification, denying cases exist, pivoting to county lines, it's hard to argue he's treating this with the urgency it deserves. Hall has been calling for a London-specific inquiry into grooming gangs, which seems like a reasonable ask, given that London is massive and apparently has issues that Khan himself admits are different from the rest of the country. If the situation is different, doesn't that warrant specific investigation to understand what's actually happening? But here's the kicker. A motion put forward by Conservative Assembly members for a funded inquiry was voted down by Labour members earlier this year. So not only is Khan not prioritizing this, his party college are actively blocking efforts to investigate. That's not accidental. That's a deliberate choice not to look too closely at what's happening. Khan's response is to blame the previous government for failing to implement the J report, which, fair enough, the Conservatives did fail to act on multiple reports and recommendations over years of grooming gang scandals. But whataboutism doesn't excuse current inaction. "They were bad too" is not a defense when children are being harmed now on your watch. Khan also says he welcomes the government's decision to back a national inquiry, which is great in theory, but as we've covered in previous videos, that national inquiry is currently dead in the water, with no chair appointed, survivors walking away calling it rigged, and no clear timeline for actually starting. Welcoming an inquiry that doesn't exist yet isn't action. It's another form of kicking the can down the road. Susan Hall's exclusive comments to The Express really drive home what's happening here. She says Khan avoids the question, he runs the clock down, and he desperately tries to change the narrative on grooming gangs to escape the fact that he has shamefully neglected his responsibility to the victims. That's a devastating summary because it's accurate to what we've all watched happen. The pattern is consistent. Question asked, clarification requested, clock runs down, pivot to something else, no actual answer given. It's textbook political evasion, and it works in the sense that you get through the meeting without committing to anything, but it doesn't work in the sense that people notice and lose trust in you. Hall adds that this is a disgrace. Survivors deserve far better, and I'm not going to stop fighting this mayor to get them that. And this is important because it recenters the conversation on survivors and victims rather than political scoring. Yes, there's obviously political tension between Hall and Khan. Yes, conservative versus labor dynamics are at play. But underneath all that, there are real children who have been or are being abused, and they deserve better than politicians playing word games while investigations are blocked and inquiries stall. The Daily Express investigation that came out earlier this year is crucial context here, because it directly contradicts Khan's claims. The Express identified 24 cases across the capital, from council documents, reviews into deaths, and historic media reports. 24 cases where children who had been subjected to sexual abuse may have been victims of grooming gangs based on expert analysis. So when Khan said in June there were no reported cases, what did he mean exactly? Because the Express found cases in official documents. Were those not reported to the mayor? If not, why not? Were they reported but not classified as grooming gang cases? If so, on what basis were they excluded? Or were they reported and Khan simply denied their existence publicly? Any of those scenarios is problematic. If the mayor isn't being told about cases documented in council files, that's a catastrophic failure of information flow. If cases are being redefined or reclassified to not count as grooming gangs, that's manipulation of data to avoid uncomfortable truths. If Khan knew about cases and publicly denied them, that's deliberate misinformation. There's no good explanation here, and the fact that Khan hasn't addressed this discrepancy directly suggests he doesn't have a good answer. The investigation finding that children who'd been sexually abused may have been victims of grooming gangs based on expert analysis is also significant language. That's not activists making claims. That's experts looking at case details and saying this fits the pattern